The cardiology appointment reminder sat on my phone screen, scheduled for December 18th at 2 p.m. My hands trembled slightly as I opened the family group chat to let them know I'd need someone to drive me home after the stress test. The arrhythmia episodes had been getting worse. 3 times last week I'd nearly passed out at my desk at the software company where I worked as a senior developer. "Can't do it," my mother texted back immediately. "Final fitting for Melissa's Christmas party dress. You know how important this is." My father's response came seconds later. "Your mother's right, Emma. Besides, it's just a checkup. You've always been dramatic about your health." I stared at the messages, my chest tightening in that familiar way that had nothing to do with my heart condition. My sister Melissa was throwing her annual Christmas extravaganza on December 23rd, a party that had somehow evolved from a casual gathering into a production that rivaled royal weddings. This year's theme was Winter Wonderland Elegance, and my parents had been planning it like military generals for 3 months. "It's not just a checkup," I typed carefully. "Dr. Morrison said the palpitations and fainting spells indicate something serious. He wants to discuss treatment options." "Treatment options?" My sister burst into the chat with her characteristic all-caps drama. "Emma, you're not going to ruin my party by being sick. Can't this wait until after Christmas?" "Heart conditions don't wait for party schedules," I replied. "God, you're so selfish," Melissa shot back. "This party is the biggest event of the season. The Hendersons are coming, the Parkers, even Dad's hospital board colleagues. But sure, make it all about your palpitations." My father, a hospital administrator, chimed in. "Emma, you're 28 years old. You can take an Uber to a doctor's appointment. Your sister only gets one Christmas party per year." The irony wasn't lost on me. My sister actually threw elaborate parties quarterly: spring garden soirees, summer pool celebrations, fall harvest gatherings. But pointing that out would only result in accusations of jealousy. "Fine," I typed, then closed the chat. What they didn't know was that I'd been funding their lifestyle for the past 4 years. The software architecture system I'd designed had been acquired by a major tech corporation for $8.2 million when I was 25. I'd kept it quiet, investing most of it and living modestly in my small downtown apartment. Meanwhile, I'd been covering my parents' mortgage payments after my father's investment opportunities had drained their savings, and I'd paid off Melissa's credit card debt 3 times. The family account I'd set up, ostensibly for shared expenses, had $47,000 in it. Money I'd deposited for my upcoming medical needs. 2 days later, I checked the account balance: $3,200. My hands shook as I scrolled through the transactions. Christmas decorations, $8,500. Catering deposit, $12,000. Premium floral arrangements, $6,800. Designer table linens, $4,200. The list went on. $43,000 spent on my sister's party in 48 hours. I called my mother. "Did you take the money from the shared account?" "Oh, that." Her voice was breezy, unconcerned. "Well, you weren't using it and Melissa needed proper decorations. You know how important first impressions are. Besides, you make good money with your little computer job. You can replenish it. That money was for my surgery." "Surgery?" She laughed. "Emma, don't be dramatic. You're having some tests done. That's not surgery. And honestly, you've always been a hypochondriac. Remember when you thought you had appendicitis in high school? It was just gas. I had a ruptured appendix. I almost died. Well, you were fine eventually. Look, I have to go. The ice sculptor is here and I need to approve the swans." She hung up. I sat in my apartment that night, my heart doing that irregular flutter skip that Dr. Morrison had said was deeply concerning. The episodes were lasting longer now, sometimes 5 or 6 minutes of feeling like my heart was trying to escape my chest. I'd nearly collapsed in the grocery store last week. Dr. Richard Morrison wasn't just any cardiologist. He was a legend. The physician who'd pioneered 3 different cardiac procedures and trained half the cardiologists on the East Coast. He'd taken me on as a patient after I'd collapsed during a tech conference where he'd been a keynote speaker on medical technology innovation. He'd seen my heart rhythm on the paramedics' monitor and immediately scheduled me for comprehensive testing. "Your condition is serious, Emma," he told me after the last round of tests. "We're looking at Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome with rapid ventricular response." Without treatment, you're at significant risk for sudden cardiac death. We need to schedule an ablation procedure as soon as possible. I'd nodded, trying to absorb words like cardiac death and immediate treatment. I'll be honest with you, Dr. Morrison had continued, his weathered face kind but grave. I've seen patients ignore these symptoms. Some of them don't get second chances. You're young, you're healthy otherwise, and this is completely treatable. But it requires action. Now, staring at my depleted bank account, I calculated how long it would take to save the money again. The procedure would cost around $45,000 after insurance. I could pull from my investments, but they were locked in terms that would cost me significant penalties. The family group chat buzzed constantly over the next week. Photos of decoration deliveries, excited messages about the guest list growing to 150 people, debates about whether the champagne fountain should be crystal or ice. My messages about needing to discuss the money I'd contributed went ignored or were met with irritated responses about not being a team player. On December 18th, I took an Uber to my appointment. The stress test confirmed Dr. Morrison's fears. My heart rhythm was dangerously unstable. "Emma, we need to schedule this procedure for next week," he said, his expression stern. "Your latest episode lasted nearly 10 minutes. That's a medical emergency waiting to happen. Where's your family? I asked you to bring someone to discuss post-operative care." "They're busy," I said quietly. "My sister's Christmas party is coming up." His eyebrows rose. "I'm sorry. It's a big event. They can't miss the planning." Dr. Morrison set down his tablet, giving me his full attention. "Emma, I want to be very clear. You could die. This isn't a minor issue. This isn't something we can postpone. Your heart is misfiring in ways that can cause sudden cardiac arrest. Do you understand what I'm saying?" I nodded, tears threatening. "I understand. But they don't think it's serious." "What do your parents do?" "My dad is an administrator at Riverside Medical Center. My mom is a registered nurse at the same hospital." Something shifted in Dr. Morrison's expression. "Your parents are medical professionals and they think cardiac arrhythmia with syncope episodes is not serious? They think I'm being dramatic." He was quiet for a long moment. "I'm going to schedule you for December 26th. That gives you time to handle whatever your family has planned. But Emma, if you have another episode that lasts more than 5 minutes, you call 911 immediately. Do you promise me?" "I promise. And I want you to give me your parents' contact information. I'm going to call them myself." I hesitated, then provided it. I doubted it would help, but Dr. Morrison's concern was genuine. That evening my mother called. "Emma, your doctor phoned me today. Very unprofessional, honestly. I told him you were fine and that we're medical professionals ourselves. We'd know if something was seriously wrong. Mom, he's one of the top cardiologists in the country. And I've been a nurse for 30 years. I think I can recognize actual medical emergencies versus anxiety-induced palpitations. You've always been anxious. Maybe you should see a therapist instead." The Christmas party loomed. My family's excitement reached fever pitch. Meanwhile, I had 3 more episodes, each one leaving me gasping and terrified on my apartment floor. On December 22nd, I received an embossed invitation to Melissa's party. Despite living in the same city and being family, I got a formal invitation. The dress code was black tie elegant. I didn't own anything that qualified. "You're coming, right?" Melissa texted. "Everyone's asking about you." "I don't think I'm up for it," I replied. The truth was I was terrified. Large crowds, stress, excitement, all triggers for my episodes. "Oh my God, Emma. Seriously? You're going to skip my party because of your heart thing? Do you know how that makes me look?" "How it makes you look?" "Yes. People will ask where you are, and I'll have to explain that my sister couldn't be bothered to show up because she's being dramatic about some palpitations. Just take some anxiety medication and come." I didn't respond. December 23rd arrived. My phone buzzed constantly with photos from the party preparation. The house looked like a crystalline palace. Ice sculptures lined the driveway. White lights covered every surface. It was objectively stunning. At 7 p.m. as guests were arriving, my phone rang. "Dr. Morrison." "Emma, where are you?" "At home." "Why?" "I'm at your sister's party." My heart, my malfunctioning, dangerous heart, seemed to stop entirely. "What?" My wife and I are friends with the Hendersons. They invited us. When I saw the address, I realized it was your family's home. I'd like to speak with your parents. Dr. Morrison, please don't. Emma, I've been a cardiologist for 40 years. I've watched young people die because their families didn't take their conditions seriously. I'm not going to let that happen to you. He hung up. I sat frozen in my apartment, my phone still pressed to my ear, imagining the scene unfolding at the Winter Wonderland Elegance extravaganza. The next morning my phone erupted. 17 missed calls from my mother. 12 from my father. 23 texts from Melissa, escalating from confused to furious to panicked. I listened to my mother's voicemail first. Emma, what the hell did you tell your doctor? He completely humiliated your father in front of his colleagues. Called us negligent. Said we were medical professionals who should be ashamed. He announced to the entire party that you have a life-threatening condition and that we've been spending your surgery money on decorations. How could you embarrass us like this? My father's message was worse. Your mother's nursing license is under review. My position at the hospital is in jeopardy. Dr. Morrison is on the board of medical ethics for 3 hospitals in this state, and he's filed formal complaints about our conduct. He's demanding we undergo review for medical neglect of our own daughter. Do you understand what you've done to this family? Melissa's final text was simple. Everyone left. The party was ruined. I hope you're happy. I wasn't happy, but for the first time in years I felt seen. Dr. Morrison called that afternoon. Emma, I apologize if I overstepped. But when I arrived at that party and saw what they'd spent, the ice sculptures alone probably cost more than your procedure. While knowing you were home alone with a potentially fatal arrhythmia, I couldn't stay silent. What exactly did you say? I told the truth. When your father introduced me to his CO, I explained that I was treating his daughter for a serious cardiac condition, and that the family had spent her medical fund on party decorations. I said that as medical professionals they should be absolutely ashamed. Your mother tried to claim it was just palpitations, and I corrected her. Loudly. In front of approximately 60 people, including the hospital board. My parents are saying they're under review. They are. I filed complaints this morning. Emma, they're medical professionals who dismissed clear symptoms of a life-threatening arrhythmia in their own daughter. That's not just negligence. It's a violation of the basic principles of medical ethics. Your mother told people you were being dramatic. I showed them your test results. The room was very quiet after that. What happens now? Now you come in on December 26th and we fix your heart. I've already spoken with billing. The procedure is covered. As for your parents' careers, that's for the medical board to decide. The board decided swiftly. My mother's nursing license was suspended pending a full ethics review. My father was placed on administrative leave while the hospital investigated why a senior administrator had shown such callous disregard for medical ethics in his personal life. The story spread through the medical community like wildfire. The hospital administrator and nurse who spent their daughter's surgery fund on a Christmas party. The social fallout was equally swift. The Hendersons, the Parkers and every other guest at the Winter Wonderland Elegance party now knew the truth. My sister's reputation, built so carefully on the image of the perfect family, crumbled. Future invitations dried up. Her social media posts about the magical evening were flooded with comments asking why she'd let her sister suffer for her party. I had the ablation procedure on December 26th. Dr. Morrison performed it himself and it was completely successful. My heart rhythm stabilized. The episodes stopped. For the first time in 2 years I could take a full breath without wondering if my heart would cooperate. My parents tried to call twice during my recovery. I didn't answer. They'd shown me exactly how much my life was worth to them. Less than ice sculptures and champagne fountains. 3 weeks later, my mother's license suspension was extended to 6 months. My father lost his administrative position and was demoted to a junior management role at a different facility. Melissa's Instagram following dropped by 40% after she posted a defensive rant about family betrayal. They blamed me, of course. I'd humiliated them. I'd ruined their careers. I'd destroyed Melissa's social standing. They never once asked how my surgery went. I changed my phone number and moved to a building with better security. I transferred the remaining funds from the shared account into my private savings. I stopped covering their mortgage. I stopped being their safety net. Dr. Morrison became more than my cardiologist, he became a mentor. He introduced me to medical technology investors who were interested in my software expertise. My company began developing cardiac monitoring systems, combining my two worlds. 6 months after the Winter Wonderland disaster, I ran into my father at a medical technology conference. He was there representing his hospital's new lower position. I was there as a keynote speaker, presenting the cardiac monitoring system that would revolutionize arrhythmia detection. He stared at me from the audience, his face ashen, as Dr. Morrison introduced me as the brilliant young woman whose personal experience with medical dismissal inspired life-saving technology. After my presentation, my father approached. "Emma, we need to talk. Your mother's license, my career, we've lost so much." "I almost lost my life," I replied calmly. "You lost your reputations. There's a difference. We're your family. Family doesn't spend your surgery fund on ice sculptures. Family doesn't call life-threatening conditions drama. Family doesn't ignore you while you're dying because a party is more important. We didn't know it was that serious. You're medical professionals. You just didn't care." I walked away, my heart beating strong and steady, finally fixed by someone who valued my life more than appearances. The Winter Wonderland party photos still sat on Melissa's Instagram, but she'd turned off the comments. You could see the ice swans in the background, the crystal champagne fountain, the elaborate floral arrangements. $43,000 of decorations. Worth more than my life, according to my family. Dr. Morrison was right. Some prices are too high to pay. I'd learned that lesson in the best possible way, by surviving despite them and thriving without them. My heart was fixed. My family's priorities never would be. And I was finally okay with that.